Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. I am so excited for all your comments and all the many views the MaxWeb Moments are getting, which makes me feel excited and motivated to always record new episodes for you guys. I have a great topic for today, which is communication, but very specific points on what I've learned not to say at work. And not just things that I used to say and I learned is better to have a more diplomatic approach when saying them. Also things that I hear that others say and I really think there can be a way better sentence or a better way to approach that. You see, I'm already starting to be very diplomatic and not call anyone out for using the wrong type of communication. Anyway, so let's get started. I have 10 things written down here for the things that I've learned not to say at work. The first one, this one I hear a lot of people say, and it is, this might be random, but, and then they tell you what they think is random. And I think it just sounds a tiny bit childish, and maybe that's, a bit much to say, but instead of saying this might be random, but instead you can say something like, here is something to consider. It just sounds so much better, elevated, gives you, the pause, the professionalism that you deserve to have and others to, respect you for it. Beautiful. Number two, big pet peeve of mine when people say, sorry, I'm confused. I don't know, when someone says, sorry, I'm confused, it's like, oh, what's happening? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm confused, or I don't understand this, because it's very important to say when you don't understand something. I highly encourage questions. Anyone who has worked with MaxWeb knows I love questions. It's absolutely okay to ask, but there's a good way to ask your coworkers or someone you work with without starting the sentence with I'm confused, sorry, I don't understand. Instead, you can say, hey, can you please repeat that? I want to be clear on this point going forward. Or can you please clarify this point again for me? I need more details to fully comprehend what you're trying to tell me. So automatically that switches the vibe of the conversation. There's no negativity attached to it because when you start something with like, I'm confused, you might kind of involuntarily put the blame on the other person that they are doing something wrong when explaining something to you. So I had to add that in here because it's been very helpful for the team as well. Another one is let me know your thoughts. That's a huge one, right? I bet you use it. I used to use it. Let me hear your thoughts. When you say that, you put the pressure on the other person. You're basically asking them to do something. And when someone is very busy or exhausted, when you say, let me hear your thoughts, it's just an added weight that can be removed. So instead, you can say, I am open to your questions or your suggestions, right? So instead of saying, let me hear your thoughts, you can say, I am open to your thoughts, your suggestions. Automatically switches the vibe, right? It's such a good way to look at it. All right, the other one, very important. I think that's the fourth, right? I get this all the time. And if you've heard me speak before, I underline this fervently many times. When someone says, are you around? Are you free? Well, probably if your, shift is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, you're probably around. But when you hear that, you're not sure what the other person is trying to ask. So instead of saying, are you around? Are you free? Instead, drop a note. When you are free, I would love to discuss X, Y, or Z. Right? That's I think the best thing that I can recommend. Start using that tomorrow. It's going to be incredibly helpful. Number 5, just my 2 cents. I'm not giving my 2 cents. I'm saying I hear that a lot, just my 2 cents. And again, it's kind of like the first thing I had on the list here with this might be random. Sounds a bit childish. So instead of saying just my 2 cents, instead say, here is something to consider. Here is something to consider. Here is something to consider. Sounds so much better, right? I love it. I agree. Okay. Another big one, maybe you're new to a company and you're very confused or very annoyed with how things were done previously by a certain process. So instead of saying, this is not clear or this is confusing, why did we do it like this? Instead say, I would love to hear your thought process when we created this. Or I would love to hear your thought process in the beginning when we started doing things like this. Did you see? We're just automatically changing the vibe of how we communicate. The next line, sorry about the late reply. I've actually spoken with my team about this a lot. When someone says, sorry for the late reply, I've seen it on emails all the time, right? You have an email on, it takes you forever to get back to someone. And the first instinct that you have is say, sorry for my late reply. I was so busy. It was so hectic. Take a pause. Don't say that, because you're automatically starting the communication on a negative note. Instead of saying sorry about the late reply, say thank you for your patience. I'm guilty of this. I used to start a lot of emails like that. And since I switched to thank you so much for your patience, I've noticed a switch in not just how the person is feeling, definitely how I feel. It's just more positive and more open to a positive, transparent communication. All right, I think we're number 7, right? No, 8 already. What works best for you? Instead, you can say, can you do Wednesday at 11, Friday at 9? Basically, give them a few times, right? So instead of, again, putting the mental load on the other person, asking them, well, what works best for you? Instead of adding that extra piece of mental load information, question, task that they need to do, give them option. So instead of asking a question like, what time works best for you for our meeting? Give them, hey, I have, Wednesday at 9, Friday at 2. Give them like 3 times and just let them pick whatever time is best. So this way, you're just giving them option. You're basically coming with a solution, and you're gonna look like the hero. Beautiful. Number 9, what do I have here? Oh yes, someone makes a mistake, someone forgets something, and I see, oops, which again, like a few of the other points, like my 2 cents, or this might be random. When someone says, oops, it takes me back to like a teenager that's just, worried about forgetting their homework at home. So instead of oops, you can say, thank you for catching that. Let me address that. I know what I could have done better. Turn it into a positive, right? We all make mistakes, that's human, but the way we react to them is what really sets us apart. Beautiful. Last but not least, especially in the leadership role, when you have to deliver bad news, don't start with, I've got bad news. That sentence, take it out of your repertoire. Don't start, basically in any role, don't start any communication with, I've got bad news. Instead say something like, here's the situation and here's what I would recommend, right? You can have bad news, but if you're saying, this is the situation, this is what I would recommend, you're bringing the solution. And you've noticed with a lot of the points that I made today, it's just really important to have a solution for the other person, because everyone has the workload for most of us is pretty high. So if we can do small things like this to help with the communication, is really a game changer. Those were the 10 communication tips or items that I've learned not to say at work. I hope you find them helpful. And if you have any comments of things that you learned not to say at work, or things that you hear a lot of people say and you wish they wouldn't say them, I would love to hear them, because communication and mindset and how we interact with others is such a powerful way of doing life, not just work. So I would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions on the things that you don't say at work. I hope this was helpful. You're fantastic. Thank you for listening. Doing these episodes is really a huge help for me too. So thank you for all the comments on topics that you would love to hear. I really find so much joy in doing those episodes. So thank you for being here with me. You are wonderful. And if you have any comments, please drop them below. Have a great week ahead.